things that we've been through. Every great leader aspires, that's official. Once a great student desired before dismissal, to be the spark to ignite the fire to be continued.
Hi, this is Kimberly Gray Roberts, and I am here with Ruban Roberts for this episode of the Share This Conversations with Ruban podcast. Hi, Ruban.
Hey, Kim.
How you doing?
I am well. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure.
You know, we're doing the things on the fly. And...
Yes.
All right. So one of the things one of the reasons I popped in is I wanted to ask you some questions about the podcast and your views on leadership and kind of dig a little bit deeper with you. Is that okay?
That's fine. Why don't you ask and I'll oblige.
All right. Well, let me know if, where your boundaries are. I don't want to go too far.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
Okay, good.
I got a question for you.
Oh, dear.
The same question that you asked me. Think about a time where I was challenged and you were around and I showed that leadership skill, if you can recall.
Yeah. Okay. So it was, I'm gonna go back to when you did decide to step out on your own.
Right.
And essentially, when you did step out, you made that leap of faith and you had all of these promises and assurances from people who seemed like they were ready to support. They were going to be there, Johnny on the spot. And it was just going to be a seamless transition from your leaving the university to having your own business. And when that didn't materialize, I panicked immediately. I feel like I was supportive, but I panicked.
You were supportive.
But I did panic. And just, oh my goodness, was this the right decision? You were in the gilded cage. And that's what I like to call it, because you had the benefits, you had the name recognition of this, great institution of higher learning that is here in South Florida. So you had all of that support, all of that recognition, and then it was just it didn't seem to the people who said that they would support you weren't able to do so. Well, wouldn't or couldn't, however it worked out. And just your being measured. And this is the plan. And this is, I think, where you're being serious and learning how to be even more serious when you became a father. You said, this is the plan. I'm going to stick with the plan. It's going to work out. And you stuck with the plan. You didn't waver from it. You maintained your integrity. You didn't sell yourself short. And that was one of the things that even those people who promised you support early on but disappeared, they eventually came back because they saw that none of that wavered. Like you absolutely stayed the course, and that steadfastness was what was most impressive. And when it finally blossomed, and it took a few years for it to really come to fruition, but when it did, it was clear that you're staying the course and standing strong in your conviction that was the key.
Thank you for sharing that story.
You're welcome.
You're absolutely right. Again, integrity, consistency, staying focused. Those are essential qualities of any leader. Your integrity can't be questionable. Sometimes we find ourselves in challenging situations as leaders, as parents, as leaders of organizations, where we may compromise.
Or asked to compromise.
Right.
Expected to compromise.
And I've been in that situation a lot of times. But whatever my core values were, I stayed focused on those values. And I think that that's essential. even when the outcome may not be the best for you by staying, sticking to your values. But people respect you. They may not like you.
Well, it's not about being liked all the time.
Right.
But it is about being respected.
Well, some folks want to be liked. Some folks
You would
prefer to
trade like for respect?
Now you're asking me.
I'm asking you. This is true.
You already know the answer.
Wrong audience for that question.
Right. But there are some folks, if they can get the likes, that's more important to them than respect. And that tells you about where they fall in terms of their leadership. So, I think that's excellent that you brought that up. Yes, you will be challenged. You'll be challenged, certainly. You'll be asked to compromise. And sometimes compromise is essential, but don't compromise your values.
I think that's very interesting. I was reading an article this week about values and how companies, organizations, even individuals don't have a clear set of values. So if you're a leader and you are starting your own business, and before I think you put your business plan together, before you do your marketing plan, and I'm very partial to marketing plans.
Yes, you are.
But before you put all of that together, you really have to start with a set of core values for your organization. These are the things that won't be compromised on.
Right.
I've worked for companies like that before, and I find it interesting when you have those companies that say that they stand for certain things, and then you find out it's just performative. And one of the things that I admire about how you've done business is that your core values are standard in your personal life as well as in the businesses. There's no differentiation between the two.
That's right.
The values are very much etched in stone.
Right. And they were given to me early from my parents, basically. Say what you mean what you say. If you make a commitment to do something, see it through. Be timely. Again, stay the course. Those things were the things that I learned as a youth growing up. And so to me, I think that those are the things that are essential to any business person in terms of their leadership. And I'm hoping that you hear this. We've seen major companies now take a different stance because of the political climate when they've already made a commitment to a certain value system. We've seen them, major institutions, backtrack. And this is where you compromise before fear of losing something. But if you truly believe in it, then you stand strong, just like those institutions that did stand strong. Even though the political climate changed, they chose to stand strong.
But there's another price to that.
And what's that price?
And the other price to that, when you're talking about institutions that do compromise their core values, and when they do that backtrack, there's the loss of trust.
Yes.
And you can't, I'm not going to say you can't get the trust back, but it's very difficult to earn that trust back. If you're a multinational conglomerate, you can afford it, right? But when you're a small business owner or you're just starting out, your name and your word is everything.
That's
and
correct.
if you've now compromised on that value, you've lost that trust as a smaller business owner, then that is a lot of work to try and win that back, don't you think?
I do believe that. I always think about what do you stand to lose. So if you compromise, you're probably going to lose anyway, right? You're going to get a short end of the stick. But if you stand strong and you get the short end of the stick, you'll be able to recoup. I truly believe that. You'll be able to recoup at some time. But if you just throw it in, as my father always says, you're Roberts, and Roberts never quit. So I don't quit. And I encourage you guys to stand strong in your conviction, whatever it is that you believe, as business people, as parents, as husbands and wives. Make sure you stand when you make that commitment, that commitment means something to you in your family, first and foremost, in your, whatever work that you do. Make that commitment and stand on your commitment. Those are essential qualities, I think, for any successful person. Success, I think, sometimes we put a lot of weight on material things, right? One thing, Kim, that's important to me is that when I look myself in the mirror, that I feel good about who I see. And if I'm compromised, I don't know how I'll feel.
Yeah. It's interesting. True. Interesting. And simply because I think that in where we are right now in society, where everything is, I don't want to say everything. Let me take that back, because that's a blanket statement. But so much is predicated on instant gratification. And what do you compromise for instant gratification? What do you compromise to get the likes? If you're looking at it from social media, what do you compromise to get the likes? Yeah. What of your values do you turn your back on?
Right. I mean, we're seeing in the news now where folks who wanted an entertainment career made some major compromises just so that they can have a shot at being successful. That price is too heavy a cost for me to bear. Again, if I know I've done something that goes against my character and who I am, how can I look myself in the mirror?
Right.
How can I look at my son? How can I look at you and know that, I was willing for a few shillings. Shillings, if you will. Yeah.
Okay, Governor.
Yeah. To just, sell my integrity.
Right.
So that I can have some worldly gain. And so that's a question you have to ask yourself. They say there's something out there that says everybody has a cost. Everybody has a cost. What do you think about that?
Well, I'd have to say that would be accurate.
That everybody has a cost.
Everybody has a cost.
Okay.
The question is, and what I think is, and I'm actually going to swing this back to you. You brought that up with some young people in one of the programs that you did, and you asked them what their worth was.
What their value is, right.
And it also actually reminds me, there's a game out now called Morally Bankrupt. And it's a game.
Right.
And one of the questions one of the questions are pretty rough, but what would you do for $1 million? And it asks something that I think is, for me at least, was completely out of the question. Couldn't happen. Never, ever, not for $1 million. My answer was no, because taxes. That was my question. That was my answer.
Taxes.
No, I won't do it because, number one, taxes. That is just not enough money to do something like that. That would be morally bankrupt from my perspective. So, I would be really bad at that game. But I think it you think about it, where that old movie with Demi Moore, and Woody Harrelson, where they go to Vegas, they lose all their money, and this really rich guy goes to the husband and says, "I'll give you $1 million to sleep with your wife." And they took the money, and the man was tortured. And they broke up, and it was, I don't remember the name of the movie though.
I know the movie you're speaking of, but you're the movie buff.
I'm in the movie buff, so the fact that I can't remember the name of the movie right now is really,
I don't know the name of the movie.
Really disturbing for me. But it's again, it's if your values are such, it's really hard to even wrap your head around, well, what would that number be? I don't know that there is a number per se. There might be something because you never know what situation you're going to be in that would make it feasible. Like if there's a gun to your son's head, you have to do this. Would you do it?
Yeah. Again,
So
there's certain situations, but if it's for personal gain or material gain, it's a difference. But if it's you or our son or family member, then I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to save the lives of the folks that I love. I don't want us to get too churchy about values and that sort of thing, but I do believe that this is definitely essential for businesses and for leaders, and we're not here to describe, what kind of leaders are out there in the world today or define what kind of leaders are out there in the world today. Just know that different folks have different leadership skills and different folks are willing to compromise for different reasons. But hopefully what you get out of this today, and Kim is doing a great job interviewing, what is in it for you? Or what are you in it for, shall I say? And answer that question. I pose that question to everyone. I'm sorry?
What's your why? What's your what?
What's your why?
What drives you? Right. Why are you driven? Yeah.
Exactly. I think that, in order to be a leader, you have to do a lot of introspective work. You have to really, of just being a well-rounded person, just have to do a lot of introspective work about you, about who you are, and being clear about who you are as a person, as a leader. I think that those things are important.
Well, I think that's really, really good stuff, sir. And frankly, I think I'm really looking forward to hearing what comes next on the Share This Conversations with Ruban podcast.
Well, next we will discuss this catalyst model and the catalyst versus cataclysmic model.
Oh,
I think that you guys are going to really, really enjoy that. And then we may have a couple of guests coming up soon too. So I'm hoping that you stay tuned in. I want to encourage you to continue to, like, share our podcast. And if there's anyone in a leadership position, again, leadership in terms of advocacy, in terms of their own business, in terms of work, leadership in their home, I want you to share these things with them. I think this will be definitely a motivation for anyone that listens in, especially during times we're all being put in positions where we have to question, where are we going? What are we doing? How are we going to maneuver? Remember, if you saw the first podcast, I mentioned that I see my obstacles as stepping stones. I see them as opportunities. I really encourage you to look at those obstacles that you see as opportunities and just believe in you. One thing for sure, I'm going to bet on me all the time. Bet on you. Believe enough in you that you'll bet on you.
well, I think that is going to do it for us today. Maybe I'll come back and drop in on another session with you.
I would love to have you.
That would be lovely. Oh, thank you. And that is Share This Conversations with Ruban.
Thank you for joining me today on Share This Conversations with Ruban. I hope that this conversation inspired you today and gave you something that will help you while you're on your leadership journey. I offer consulting and leadership development services through RER Consulting, designed to help leaders grow with clarity and confidence. You can learn more by contacting me at rer-consulting.com. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe, and share.
Also, leave a comment. Your comment may inspire some future leader. Until next time, keep leading with purpose.
That's when we come together to set the world on fire, fire, fire. Yeah.